Hi, my name is Lisa. I'm going to work on a video today really to show you about the proper way to clean your clippers or to use your tools and sanitation things. I'm going to go through each one and how I would clean my kit. I normally do this at least once a week. I'm doing it outside today because one, it's a nice day out here, and also two, it's kind of loud in my shop. So with the coronavirus and everything going on right now, I figured it was a better time to do it. The main thing I'll start off with is the basic barbicide jar and how you properly use it. Most of the time I know people just kind of pour it in there, but technically speaking this is a 37-ounce jar. I typically like to leave a little room because anything I go to submerge in it, I'm gonna need a little bit of a gap in order for it to not spill everywhere on my station. So I've started doing that. I'll show you what 2 ounces is. So 2 ounces for 32 ounces is the recommendation on the bottle. And so I'm going to pour it in there. Typically I like to do mine a little heavier than the recommended dose. But I'll show you. I'm using a little bit of a measuring cup. And like I said, you can pretty much find this at any Barber supply. They sell it in larger sizes if you're buying for like the whole shop. It makes a little bit more sense. There's a Barbicide Plus that I don't love as much because it kind of looks a little murky even when it's fresh. So right there we have it. Now typically what you're going to want to put in here would be stuff that you can leave submerged. It needs to stay in there for a total of 10 minutes. I got my phone on me, so once I start submerging some things, we'll leave it in there for 10 minutes. Things I'm not going to submerge in it are going to be pretty much anything that's metal or mechanical, because I'm going to take care of these in a different way. So actually I'm just going to put all my guards in here real quick. It's one of the things you want to make sure that they're pretty free from hair. If you see anything on there, it's important to know that you must clean off everything before you put it in the barbicide. So technically you don't want to take a clipper guard or anything straight from a haircut. You want to at least take it with your brush. But even now I'm going to visually check, make sure there's no hair on them before I put it in there. If you put them in there with a lot of hair on them, you can contaminate the actual barbicide, so you don't want to do that. And then I'm going to pull out my timer. So I'm going to close the lid on that, and I'll set my timer and start it for 10 minutes. Now the next thing we'll talk about is some of your tools. They make this really great stuff. It's called H-42. Again, the timer for this is also 10 minutes. So it's kind of cool. They make it in a couple different forms. They make it in one that's like a liquid form. What you don't do is open this up and dip your clippers right into it. What you'll do is you'll take like a small bowl for color or something and pour a little bit in there. You want to have enough to have your clippers submerged in it. It just depends on your preference. The spray bottle works as well. I recommend grabbing something to kind of cover the area, but I'll do this second. I'm going to clean my scissors and everything first. Again, you can do it in a couple different ways. Typically I like to save all of my clippers to be done a certain way, and my scissors and my razors I like to do in a certain fashion. Now I don't know about you, but my scissors and my razors are kind of expensive, so I don't like to just dip them in barbicide or go a little aggressive on them. I'm going to get a couple paper towels. Now this is where you have a couple options. You can spray them down with the H-42. Again, it's a contact surface, so if you can't fully submerge it, which you technically could with the H-42, but you just need to keep the surface wet for 10 minutes. So I think I'm going to vibe for doing that, and it'll be a little easier. Again, I'm just going to spray the blade. Make sure it's gotten good on both sides. Now what's great about these is they pretty much kill anything that we're going to have a problem with, especially now with Corona. They're antifungal, they're antiviral. I really like this cleaner in particular because it's an oil-based cleaner. It's not going to damage any of your tools while you're using them. Now remember, they got to stay wet for 10 minutes. Now with my straight razor, I want to try to take this apart. I don't really take my scissors apart. There's a lot of delicate parts with the Hanzos, and I'm a little worried about taking them apart and breaking something. So a lot of times I just spray them down with H-42 and let them sit to the side. With my actual razor though, I know how to take it apart. It's fairly easy. Depending upon your razor, depends on how much you take it apart and what you clean. I would at least take your head off if you can. And the main reason I'm taking this one apart, this one comes into a contact with a lot more stuff from different people. So I feel it's always best to take this one completely apart. This one I'm shaving people's faces when I'm doing a straight razor shave. I use this on everybody's haircut. So I like to clean it pretty well. And like I said, I love my razor, so I like to make sure I don't use something too damaging to it. I'm going to start with my clippers. Now this is where I do actually like the solution where you can dip it inside of here. So I'm just going to take this, pour a little bit in here. Oops. She'll get away from you in your first opener. Now remember, like I said before, it's an oil-based cleanser, so it's going to be kind of greasy, which is a little hard to deal with at first, but you get kind of used to it. So once you get some in the container, wipe off the extra. I'll actually take my clipper, like I said, already been pre-cleaned, and dip it in. And I don't know if I can show you this, but you'll see my clipper actually go into it. So I like to use a towel, as you see. Sometimes it spills out. And this will actually go in here and get all the little hairs out of there. I like to run it for a few minutes, especially if you can see hair continuing to come out of your clipper. This will help you get in there and get everything out of your blade while also disinfecting it. Again, once you're done, you need to let it sit on for 10 minutes. So we're gonna start putting them over here, just like the other ones. And then once the clipper guards finish first, we'll keep moving on. Next clipper, making sure it's free from visible hair. You know, you don't want to make it crazy. I typically like to do this, like especially if you take multiple days off in a row. I'll do this right before I take a day off. That way some of the oil can drain out of my clippers too. Because like I said, this stuff's going to stay in your clippers for a minute. But it's worth it to make sure that you're killing everything. Now it's also nice to have like Andis Cool Care and Clipper Side at your station. But those are really just for like in between every person. You still need to be like fully breaking your equipment down and sanitizing it. And that's what I'm trying to show you here. Again, the same thing. If you're going to be using Cool Care and Clipper Side, you want to make sure that you get your clipper clean before you spray it. And then finally we go to like a box shaver. You can use towels, but I like paper towels. It helps me see the dirt better. Our oil water is pretty hairy. Not too bad. Like I said, I try to do this pretty often. Again, I'm just going to spray off the cap and around the surface. So you're just going to push the button to take off your pieces. I always recommend taking off the blades if you can. My timer. So that means the guards are done. Pull them off. As you can see, there's a little bit of dirt in here. You can actually dip this in barbicide if you want to. The only thing you'll notice is it'll start breaking down the foils a lot quicker. So that's why I tend to opt with this. Then I'm going to set another timer for 10 minutes because that'll be my last tool. And now I'm going to check some of the other stuff that I have and maybe check the H-42 on it. Make sure that it needs a little. With my razor, flipping it over, making sure everything's still with the right scissors, same thing. So we're going to take them out now, and now that they've been in here, I need to rinse them off with water. Since I'm outside, that makes it a little more difficult. So I got a spray bottle. I also have a spray bottle that has a little bit of barbicide, which is nice too. Sometimes if you want to spray your actual clippers. This stuff's great for surfaces you can't do, like we'll spray down the barber chairs now with it and let it sit. Just remember, if you spray it down and you're doing it this way, instead of submerging it, you got to keep it moisturized. So you might have to spray your chair down for a few extra minutes in between, but it works really well. I recommend buying one of these. Pretty cheap. You can get it on Amazon for like $2 or $3 for the bottle. So I got one full of water. I'm gonna rinse them off. Another thing too is if you don't rinse your cones and your guards off after you get barbicide all over them, eventually they'll start breaking down and warping, especially your half guard or 1.5. They'll start getting a little weird. So you want to make sure that you always rinse them off when you go to take them out. So since these were submerged for 10 minutes, they can just be fully dried. Got my guards ready. Now that that's done, the scissors are up next. Again, all I have to do now, since they sat with H-42 on them for 10 minutes, is just wipe them down. You're also going to want to oil your clippers and your scissors after you complete this task, because they might need a little oil. But the benefit about H-42 is that it does have oil in it, so it's not going to leave your stuff feeling as dry as maybe like using clipper spray or something like. You want to make sure you get in here. Sometimes there can be hair hidden in between your scissors. Like I said, after you're done with this, they are clean and sanitized. And if you do this fairly regularly, your scissors and stuff will stay pretty clean. Your stuff won't start getting all disgusting and caked up with hair. Now, clippers were some of the last things that we did. I'm going to come in here and make sure to clean in between everything. Like I said, I like to do this about once a week. Alright, here comes the true magic. Putting this thing back together. Alright. Alright. Same thing, we're going to wipe the clippers off. Again, you always want to come into any point of surface that you come into contact with. You want to keep it like this. Alright, that's everything. The only other thing we could really talk about is if you're going to clean a brush. Now, depending upon if you have a container big enough that you can submerge it, you can always spray it, but you want to make sure before you do the same thing with barbicide with a brush that you go through and pull out any hairs that you have on your brush. And then again, this would be another great use for the spray. Same way, make sure that when you're done, it looks like this, visibly wet. And I'll let that sit another 10 minutes. Anyway, hopefully you'll start implementing a couple more procedures to make your shop cleaner or just your overall equipment cleaner. Anyways, have a good day. Hope this helps.